I'm very pleased to have with me one of the most remarkable people in Israel, Yehudah Glick. On this, the 100th anniversary of the Sanremo conference. For those of you who don't know, and I think there are very few who don't know who Yehudah Glick is, he is one of Israel's consummate activists in the social, political, and above all in the spiritual realm. Yehudah, who I'm very proud to have known for many years and regard as a friend, has been a tireless advocate for Jewish rights on Har HaBayit, on the Temple Mount, an effort that almost cost him his life. Thank God he was able to survive a direct, close-range assassination attempt. He's gone on to become a very productive member of Knesset, and he's no longer in the Knesset. He's doing other things where he is applying his unique perspective of inclusion and spirituality in Israel. And Yehudah, with that in mind, talking about Sanremo, we've been having discussions with a lot of legal scholars and historians and geopolitical experts, but you uniquely in Israel have injected spiritual meaning into a lot of issues that others might regard as primarily geopolitical. Har HaBayit, your efforts there are a great example of that. So given who you are and what your experience has been, let's look at the Sanremo conference. And do you see a spiritual significance or a spiritual element to that gathering and to the proclamation that came from it?
Shalom, Doug, and I'm really so happy to be with you. And I really feel complimented by being called your friend, and I totally 100% agree with that, and I feel privileged to be so. I think that in this case, when we're talking about the Sanremo conference, I think you don't even have to add any spirituality to the very fact. I want to repeat, for the first time in almost 2,000 years, the international community accepts the right of the people of Israel for a state of their own in what they call Palestine, in Israel. I mean, you don't have to be a rabbi, you don't have to be a pastor, you don't have to be a Bible scholar to understand and to have you can feel the goosebumps in your body when you're talking about the words of the Bible coming out of the book, becoming a reality, the whole world. I mean, I don't even know what's more prophetic than that. I mean, even the prophets, when they talk about Israel and they talk about the recognition of the world, I don't know if they could have believed how this can become a fact on the ground. And so when I repeat that sentence to myself, the first time in 2,000 years, the international community recognizes Israel. The international community is another world for humanity. Humanity is another world for Adam, created by God in the image of God. These are who was supposed to be responsible for this world. Humanity, created by the image of God in humanity, and all of its representatives. And the League of Nations say Israel is entitled to what the book says, promised by God. I don't understand. I don't think it's need of any other. I would say any usage of any other big fancy words. These are the words. That's as simple as that.
Okay, so let's stay with your work on Har HaBayit for a minute, because I think that there's a connection there, perhaps. Do you draw a connection? Do you see a relevance between Sanremo and the state of affairs that we find currently concerning Har HaBayit?
Yes, by all means we do. I would say it would even a little more elaborate. I want to remind us that when the Sanremo convention makes their resolution, on the table is sitting the Atlas of the Biblical Geography, written by the Scottish biblical scholar George Adam Smith. And in that includes the entire, what's called the biblical Palestine or biblical Israel. And the Arab world constitutes to accept it. And today, just as the Arabs are denying the fact, and that the only solely Arab leader, Faisal, had accepted the fact that Israel, if the Jewish people are entitled to Israel, so too, then he was accepted, but he was turned down by the Arab world. Today, the Arab world are denying the right of the Jewish people on the Temple Mount, and they are just as they're demanding that we turn Judea and Samaria to be free of all Jews, so too they want on the Temple Mount. So what they're saying is, and sometimes I people speak about the green line. The green line separates from the people of Israel to the land of Israel, because of the land of Israel, which is the biblical land of Israel, mainly the mainland of Israel's main biblical country, includes Judea, Samaria, within the center of it. The place that unites this whole thing is the Temple Mount. And when today we see Muslim Arab leaders who are denying the rights of Jews to pray on the Temple Mount, this is the same thing as those Arab leaders who fought against Faisal, who was the only legitimate Arab leader, and they demanded not to recognize Israel's right on Israel. So too, the Arab leaders are not recognizing the people's Jewish right on Temple Mount. I think that just like the facts on the ground that we did in establishing the state of Israel, led by David Ben-Gurion in 1948, in May 1948, when he said, I am taking international community and implementing what is accepted by them, today is the time that we do the same thing in Judea and Samaria, and of course, by far, on the Temple Mount.
Yes. Yehuda, as you know, we just recently celebrated Yom HaShoah, the anniversary of which overlapped with the days of the conference. What connection do you make between Sanremo and the Shoah? What do you see? What might have been the history of our people in Europe in the 20th century might have been different if Sanremo were truly followed?
For sure. The Shoah, first of all, I'm not crazy about the word Shoah. Shoah is like with a Hebrew word for tragedy, or we use Holocaust, but tragedy is something that is like something you refer to if science is the earthquake. This is something, the Shoah was done by human beings. But the other point I want to point out is that in Hebrew, we refer to the Yom HaShoah is called, the official name, the Memorial Day for the Shoah and the heroism. And here is something very important, because I think those heroes in the Holocaust, I'm talking about mainly those in the Warsaw Ghetto, but not only there was resistance in several different, there were like 30,000 people who participated in resistance in the Second World War in the Shoah. These people knew they had no chance, but they understood that even if we die, we should do it with our honor. And they give us, the people of Israel, the strength, and not only the strength, the obligation to take those Sanremo decisions, implement them, because these heroes knew that the most important power, when they brought up those two flags in Warsaw, the blue and white flag together with the Polish flag, or wherever they were, they stood up and they fought, even with pistols against tanks. They stood up and said, we are here to respect the dignity of the people of Israel. And the dignity of the people of Israel, which was put and stepped on and totally turned into dust by the Germans and by their allies, is once again here in Israel. We are here saying never again because we are here saying that we are here to protect the right, and not only the right, but mainly the duty, the assignment of the Jewish people in the world. And the assignment of the Jewish people in the world begins from the Temple Mount, from the site which represents God's presence in this world and represents the unity of all humanity. And so here again, we come back to the obligation that we have, especially after the Shoah, but not only after the Shoah, because many people think that the rights of the Jewish people were given to us because of the Shoah. When we remind Sanremo, and we say Sanremo was decades before the Shoah, and the world recognized our rights based on our biblical rights, based on the biblical assignment that we have to be a light to the nations, here is on the table the basic assignment, which is an obligation for us to be committed. And here is the most important word: commitment. We are committed to talk up. Just like the Shoah was in the hands of humans, we have to take it in our hands, our destiny, and our the essence, and the significance of what the people of Israel mean to all of humanity.
Well, that's a great lead into my next question, and that has to do with relevance. Many historical anniversaries, as you know, are marked because the day happened, but we don't necessarily feel a current kesher, a connection with the impact of that particular day. Is that true with Sanremo? Is Sanremo just an event in history, or is it still relevant for us? Does it still resonate with us? Is it still with us in a way that needs to inform who we are and how we go about being Israelis?
By all means, it does, because Sanremo, the leaders of France, Britain, Italy, Japan, and even the American president as an observer, sit down, and these were the leaders of the democratic world. And if we are here trying to call for liberty, and these are values that we believe, and we've just concluded celebrating the Passover holiday, which we brought liberty, a concept of liberty as a godly concept to the world. And we stand up. And today, just a few months ago, 70 leaders from all over the world come to Jerusalem, recognizing de facto the fact that Jerusalem is our capital. We have an obligation to stand there and to turn Jerusalem into a city of values where the world will look upon the people of Israel and say, guys, this is the center of unity of the world. This is the foundation of faith in the world. This is the foundation not only of my faith, it's the foundation of your faith, it's the foundation of faith in the world. It's the place where Abraham and the Temple Mount announces the faith, the full devotion to God. And this is what we, as the people of Israel today, in the state of Israel, in the state that from day one has been putting every effort possible to live in peace with all of our neighbors, and we have paid a very high price for that. We are here once again to say that we are here to make it for good. We're not here just by accident. We are here for good, to be God's representative as a light to all of nations.
Last question for you, Yehuda, and what you're saying is so very, very important, so relevant, and so going to the heart of things. And speaking of which, what is, in your view, the connection of Sanremo to the Jewish belief that we were given the land of Israel by God, and that our first and our ultimate claim to the land comes from Him? What would you say that Sanremo either ratifies or validates or comments on that very fundamental belief that we have?
So many people think that if God gave us the land, then we should just wait till He gives us the land, and we should sit around and do nothing. And I think that anybody who reads the Bible sees that even right after God took the people of Israel out of Egypt and he gave us the land. The book of Joshua, the book of Judges, is filled with conflict, that we have to take that promise and put facts on the ground. And it's our obligation. And putting facts on the ground that includes, of course, defending ourselves, but also includes, and definitely in a modern world like today, includes leading the battle for truth on the digital world, on the social media, but also leading the battle for justice in every single universal community official authority, whether it's the United Nations, whether it's the any kind of institution that's an international institution. We have to be there and speak up, because even though I said before that Sanremo based its facts on the Scottish biblical scholar, but not only thanks to the Zionist conference led by Theodor Herzl, only thanks to Chaim Weizmann and the Zionist movement who came and stood up and said, we are here. We can't wait for the others to do the job for us. We have to do it here on the ground. We have to do it here on the web, and we have to do it in every single political and judicial authority existing. That's our job to do that. Nobody's going to do it for us. We have the power. We have the ability. Today we even have the own independent state. And if then we were obligated to do it, today for sure we are more than that obligated to do it, because we established the state of Israel so that we can be part of the international community as a nation, but as a leading nation of all nations.
Very last question for you, Yehuda. You served with distinction in the Knesset, and you've now gone on. I would describe you as a great activist. You were active politically. You've been active socially. You've been active spiritually. Tell us what you're doing now in your post-Knesset career to help Am Yisrael and Eretz Yisrael.
Thank you so much for this question, because really I'm actually doing the same, but taking use of all the experience that I've achieved so far. I am today the president of the Shalom Jerusalem Foundation, which sees its obligation to bring the message of Jerusalem as center of God and the world center of peace and the world center of prayer to the entire world. We have a YouTube channel, the Shalom Jerusalem Foundation YouTube channel, and the Facebook, the Shalom Jerusalem Foundation Facebook page, and mainly I correspond with people, Jews and non-Jews, from all over the world, bringing this idea and telling people, you have a prayer, the center, the foundation of your prayer, of your faith should be Jerusalem. Not because I decided that, but this is what our prophets, and this is what the Bible talks about. And since so many people in the world are Bible believers, whoever they are, wherever they are, and therefore we, on a daily basis, we correspond with people from Kenya and Tanzania and Dubai, and of course Germany and Holland and Texas and Arizona. People from all over the world are connecting every single day and every single week. I go up to the Temple Mount and we pray for people. People go into our website in shalomjerusalem.org, put in prayer requests, and every single week I go up to the Temple Mount and I turn the Temple Mount to a house of prayer for all nations. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to reinforce the concept that Jerusalem is the foundation of faith, and trying to reinforce the fact that Jerusalem is the biblical center of God, and it's our mission as human beings, it's our mission as Jews to make that understood by all humanity. And that's what we're trying to do, and then we have so many people that are communicating and cooperating with us, and I thank them all. And I just hope that we'll be able to strengthen this and put it into political facts and to spiritual facts in the hearts of all mankind.
That's beautiful. Yehuda, I can say from my own experience with you, I have seen your unbelievable ability to reach out to to other Jews and especially to non-Jews, whether they're Christians or Muslims, and to find common ground. And I'm sure that your foundation will do that, will enhance the love of Yerushalayim that we all feel, the power of Yerushalayim, and I wish you chatzlacha with that. Only good things. Thank you for joining us today, and all the best. And all the best for all who are watching in managing through this very, very difficult time. May we all stay healthy and safe and sane as we manage through a very challenging time. Thank you.